All right, good evening. Can we do a quick audio check? Let me know if everything's fine. Hey Dave, I hope you do well, man. Good to see you. Let's give it a minute. Allow everybody to join the stream, and then we'll start this off. Let's have a look. VWAP, TPO. All right, we got everything ready to go. What's up, Maurice? Daytona was good. It's good, man. So, congratulations, Bitcoin all-time high. Wasn't really long-lived, was it? What's up, Stemo? What's up, Taronic? I mean, damn. Pretty, I mean, honestly, it's been the same playbook for quite some time now, to be honest. Where these, like back in 2017, I continue to revert to that because I've been trading this for way too long, but like these all-time high breaks, like those were like the real, like that was fun, but this just disappointing to say the least. But we'll see. Good morning, BK. Hope you're doing well, man. What's up, Richard? Happy birthday, Tom. I don't know who Tom is, but happy birthday, Tom. Certainly isn't me. All right. So first off, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to another live stream on Bitcoin. Within this stream, we're going to be going over Bitcoin, Ethereum. I also want to briefly go over some of these altcoins with potential trade scenarios heading into next week. I think there's going to be some good opportunities ahead. Now, we're going to be using regular price action. We're going to be using VWAP. We're going to be using TPO for all of these scenarios. This stream is sponsored by Bybit. We have recently launched a new campaign where we will be giving away, well, not giving away, but I'll be doing a 50% cashback on all of your fees. So if you're a high volume trader, you trade on Bybit, and you want to get 50% of your trading fees back to your account, I will post a Google form when the stream is done in the comment section below, so you can make use of that. Basically a win-win, right, for both parties. So with that being said, I would like to start this stream with some basic structures here on price, and then we're going to be moving towards TPO. Then we're going to be moving towards VWAP with a finishing touch on the setups for the week ahead. So first things first, like if we're starting this off on the weekly, I think the weekly looks good. Now, I'm not a huge fan if we're going to close this as a weekly string failure, but I think, in terms of upside, like we are breaking above some key structures here. So the weekly here is looking good. If I move towards a 3-day chart, I would say that, honestly, when we were pulling back down here, I was like, no way that this is not going to be sweeping these lows, right? I wanted to be a buyer there, maybe into this level of demand there, right, before continuation higher into the highs. Unfortunately, we didn't get that. And now we even have a structure shift within the 3-day where we're breaking above this high here. We're leaving a nice fair value gap there. And in my opinion, like the best area to be looking for longs, like let's say that we're getting another range here. Like I want to be a buyer, anything within here, right? If a setup forms to my preference, right, to what my usual triggers are, I will be looking for them around that 117K region. Now, are we getting that? I don't know, but I just know that from a structural standpoint, this makes a lot of sense in terms of the best risk to reward, right? But, a lot of people are watching that same price point, so I'm unsure whether or not we're getting that. Moving towards the daily here, again, daily nasty sweep here of the high. Does that mean that everything is over and we're going to go all the way back towards the lows? No, not really, right? We still have some structural levels to focus on, including the previous quarter value high. We'll go over that in a bit. But so far, I think if we're going to get a pullback, probably going to be from this point on, because we're also trading at the key contextual level for Ethereum. I'll cover that after Bitcoin. But so far, right, this is not looking too hot here. Then if we're going back towards the H4 chart, right, we just swept this high. We don't have a structural break yet. I'd say if we get like a structural break there, we move back up into this structure right there. I think that we're going to be running towards this pending liquidity back into the previous quarter value high. And that's where I basically want to be looking for longs. As a additional layer of confluence, if we go towards this consolidation here, right? This consolidation. If I were to plot like a merged VWAP there, right? Basically from the start of this consolidation up until the end where we broke a lower. We see that it extends throughout time here, and that it has been a really pivotal level in the past where we break away from value, reject it to the tick, we retest it, that's where the high formed, and that's where the high formed as well. So I think, you know, the upper end of that is what we call a value area high from this short-term consolidation there, and that lines up with this swing low as well. It's confluent with the previous quarterly value high. So all in all, it makes sense to me for some potential downside. Now, if we go towards the hourly chart, I'd say the hourly chart could see some supply here. We have an inefficiency there. We definitely have a reason to go a bit lower because of these equal lows here and the pending liquidity resting below that low. But still, currently, I'm short from the high because it's just a typical, you know, shorting textbook play when Bitcoin breaks above all-time high, and I mainly look to offset that trade partially below these lows, this low, and then I'll flip to look for longs again around this structure. Now, why is this so important? Let's first take a look at TPO as well. If we open up a TPO chart, this is why it's a bit worrisome to me. Like, we've got like a clean drive higher there where we've got the point of control now resting at the high. This is not a good sign, right? It's a sign that a lot of people here went long there, right? Which is why we got that flush lower. Usually this marks either the start of another consolidation here, or we're going to be cleaning up some of these anomalies below in the form of a negative value low there. We got a single print there. We've got a negative point of control there. So all in all, you know, single profiles here suggesting that we could be seeing some downside. Considering that Bitcoin is now trading above the all-time high, and that there's a lack of composites, one of the things that I like to do here is I like to use previous day value. So let's extend this profile right there. And then let's take a look at, let's say that tomorrow we open up within value. To me, that's an indication that we are rotational within previous day value. That means value area high is our bearish line in a sense, so short term, and the value area low is our bullish line in the sense, short term. To show you an example of that, if we're taking a look at the, this was a good day as an example. That is an old block right here as an example, right? This right here is the previous day value, right? We've got previous day value high, then we've got previous day value low. The market opens up above previous day value, which means this is our bullish line in the sand, right? When we're getting a structure like that, I will show you the exact trade setup that I took in a bit. We sweep lows and then we reclaim the value high again, right? To the tick, and then we continue to go off. If we were to put this level on the chart, let's see, it's at 119,900. 119,900. Let's just plot it on here. I don't know where it is exactly, but 119,900. Right, and this was that previous day value. Let's go to a 30-minute time frame here, and I think a lot of people can agree with me that this right here is your typical long setup right there, right? We form an initial low, a lot of pending sell side liquidity there, right? We sweep that low, but before we sweep the low, we form an up close candle, right? Then we have a large displacement towards the upside. We leave a gap here. What does the market do? Rebalance that fair value gap here into demand, confluent with, this is the most important one, right? It is at the previous day value high. I'm not looking for these type of trades in the middle of nowhere, right? So essentially what you could have done is, this is the trade where you open up a long there, like that, stop below the low, and we're targeting all-time high, right? That was the trade. Now, if we're getting something similar like that, and let's say that we have, if we go back towards TPO, like this is how I'm trading these breaks above all-time high, right? I'm just going to be focusing around the previous day value. So if we're getting, for example, tomorrow I wake up above value area high, we start trading towards value area high, we sweep it, market structure break. This is the displacement that I want to see on the M30. I'll get long, stop below the low, and I'm targeting previous day extreme, and then whatever extension I'm getting in terms of FIP, right? If we're trading below value area low, this is going to be my bearish line in a sense. If we're going to be forming a high, sweep the high, large displacement lower, I'll look to get short there for rotation back into this value area high here. Now, where is this value area high coming from? If I were to show you guys that, let's go all the way back towards the left side of the chart, all the way towards the left side. During the previous all-time high, we formed a consolidation, and that is this consolidation. Undo all merges. Let's get rid of the drawing, right? We can see that we've got 1, 2, 3 days of overlapping value. So what do? We merge all 3 days together like that, merge profile, and to form a 3-day composite. We then extend that composite throughout time like that. And that gives us the 3-day composite at around 121. Now, if you remember what we were saying within the beginning of the stream, that 121 is actually this level here, 121-ish. That's here, right? And what I would like to see is I would like to see a large cascade lower. Now, I'm not sure if we're going to go all the way back towards this pending liquidity there, right? But if we sweep these lows and then reclaim them, I'll be looking for longs there. But if we're sweeping all of these lows and then reclaim this, I'll be looking for longs there, right? So there's going to be 2 scenarios heading into this week. Besides that, there's not a whole lot to talk about in terms of TPO due to the lack of composites. So let's take a look at VWAP here. Purely based on VWAP, for those of you who are new to the channel, this is the yearly VWAP, this is the quarterly VWAP, this is the monthly VWAP, this is the weekly VWAP. Bitcoin is definitely reaching up into a previous year standard deviation 4, which is around 127K. If we can accept above, then I think we're definitely going to go higher. But until then, this is going to be a sticky point, right? Because we can see how important that previous year standard deviation 3 was. So if we see something like this, we got like a nice retest at the yearly developing value area high. We're now auctioning higher. Do we have anything to glean from the yearly to be, basing some intraday trades off? No, not really. I'm only aware that this is key high time frame resistance. We're taking a look at the quarterly. The quarterly has accepted above previous quarterly value area high. Bitcoin could essentially go all the way down towards 119K, right? And still be super bullish. As long as we do not see H12 candle closes below 118, I'll be looking for longs. And I'm going to be targeting new highs, right? I think it's rather healthy to just get some sort of a consolidation, pull back, build a base up here, and then go for the next leg upwards, right? On the monthly, same story. The monthly accepted above previous month value high, which is here. This is a value area high from 2 months ago, right? But we're trading above. Again, it is confluent with 118, confluent with that previous quarter value high. So far throughout this rally, if I go towards a lower time frame here, 30 minutes, for example, you can see that the monthly developing value has been capping downside throughout the entire rally here, right? Every time that we're retesting it, it's support. So that is why I tweeted today, I need to see a reaction here. I've closed partials from this short down here because if there's gonna be a reaction, it should be now, right? If we're accepting back within value, I think VWAP is next and this structure right there at 118K. Considering that we are trading this far away from quarterly value, this far away from monthly value, and that we have an upcoming weekly value close, means that I will be paying close attention to this previous week value. Tomorrow we will have new previous week value area high, new previous week VWAP, new previous week value area low. If Bitcoin accepts back within value, that means this is going to be resistance, right? Consolidation, try to break above, reject, and I'll look for shorts for a move back towards these lows into that VWAP. Now, where's that VWAP? It's at 119K, 118K, right? Again, confluence with the higher time frame layout. Conversely, if we trade above, right, and then try to break below, let me just clean everything up. If we start trading above, right, and then we form some sort of a lower time frame range, we sweep it, reclaim it, I think it's bullish. And we're going to go back towards this structure there, maybe even these highs, right? So going for 123-ish is going to be super important on Bitcoin based on previous week value. That brings me towards this chart. Let's bring up the weekly real quick. Previous week, because this is going to be, let's add that line here. Previous week value area high. 122,650, 122,650. This is going to be previous week value area high like that. All right. So Going into next week, higher time frame, if you go towards an H4, I think if there's going to be a pullback all the way down here, that's the one that you want to be buying, right? We need to see higher time frame closes above. And that's, in my opinion, a confirmation that, okay, we're just, consolidating here. How much would that be? Like 5%, like that's doable, right? Trading back towards here. Then we get the trigger, we go long and we start targeting this, that, and then, maybe in an extension back into 130-ish. That's the higher time frame approach. For now, lower time frame, I think the main focus should be around all-time high here. It should be around the previous week value high that we will have tomorrow, where if we trade below, let's say tomorrow we break up, this becomes the bearish line in a sense. If we trade back up into it and reject, we can look for shorts for a move back into these lows. And conversely, if we trade below previous week value high, right, and we formed an up close candle, let me just say that we do this up close candle, then we start trading below. This is previous week value high, and then we have a market structure break back above this high. I think that's the one that you want to be buying into on a pullback for continuation higher into new highs, and then we'll see what happens next. So that is basically the wrap on Bitcoin. Is that clear for everybody before we move towards Ethereum and some other altcoins? Are we good? What's up, Grant? Hope you're doing well, man. I shorted this mainly because if we're taking a look here at the high volume bar, like this to me, this candle close here, this candle close, this was a high volume bar with the point of control there, right? And we had 1, 2, and then the third attempt there, couldn't close back above. It was Sunday. I was like, nah, you know what? This ain't it. So I shorted this, stop above the high, and then we flushed it lower where I took something off here. And now I'm mainly looking for continuation lower based on acceptance back within previous week value. Where I want to look for a breakdown short back towards these lows there. Or if we can just do a sweep and then reclaim where I'll get long again for, I'm just trying to trade this short-term range right there. So let's quickly catch up on the chat. Yeah, I'm fine. Just having dinner, watching the show. All right, that's great, man. We're about to have the highest Bitcoin weekly close. Those that wait for a pullback will be further sidelined. Bro, a weekly close, like this is where the power of 3 comes into play, right? If we got like a weekly bar, let's take a look at the previous week. The weekly, right? Even if we're bullish on the week, like one of the things that I like to do is I'll just like to mark out like the weekly open. If we're getting a deviation below the weekly open and then reclaim it, I'll be a buyer, right? And if that lines up, let's say that we have, let's say the weekly closes here, right? The yellow line. Let's go towards the 30-minute chart. Reset chart view. Let's say that we have a weekly close there. I want to be a buyer, right? If the market tries to, early on in the week, where we start trading towards the lows, maybe we form a tree drive structure, right? Then we reclaim this structure, up close candle here, right? Market structure break, back above the weekly open. If I'm correct and we're getting a bullish week, right? We should now be getting the expansion. So it doesn't matter to me if it's going to be a shallow pullback, if it's going to be a bigger pullback. I want to be positioned whatever comes next, right? We'll have multiple plans. All right, so let's take a look at Ethereum here. ETH, right there. H12. The main levels of interest for me are going to be based around these two levels. So we have an H12 candle here. We swept it. My throat is getting fucked. Don't know why. But we swept this high and now we are leaving this low. We're coming into supply. That supply is confluent with the previous quarter value high. So sellers are stepping in where they should, right? No surprise that we're getting a cap on upside here. If we're going a bit lower, we can see that the H4 here is starting to look like it. Take a look at the H12. We have this consolidation here. We have a, definitely a liquidity pool there resting below the equal lows. We have an hourly structural break right there, right? Down close, up move, take out the highs, market structure break there. Retested it. Now we're kind of selling off here. So what I'm mainly wanting to look for in Ethereum is I want to be a buyer down here because I cannot validate getting long right into the quarterly value high. If it can show me something like this where we're taking out this low and now we're trading back above this cluster here, I think maybe I can be a bit more aggressive for a move higher. But right now, it's just clearly telling me that, okay, sellers are stepping in here. And we definitely have a draw on liquidity down here. So that's mainly what I'm going to look at heading into next week. If we were to quickly take a look here at VWAP based on ETH, right there, right? Another thing on the yearly, we are now trading into that previous year standard deviation tree, which has been a cap on upside throughout this entire range, right? And we're now tagging into that level. So can we expect a pullback? Sure. Do I want to be a buyer of that pullback? Hell yeah. Preferably down here, right? Now, if we're taking a look at the quarterly, simplistic approach, we are not able to accept above previous quarterly value high. If Ethereum, this is where we have that up close candle. If we can break above, I'll switch buys and I'll look for longs for continuation higher. And I'm going to be targeting a bunch of highs on the left side of the chart. I'll show you that in a bit. But as long as we're trading below, expecting more downside here, right? Now, what could be a potential level of interest? Let's remove this real quick. One right here. This is the monthly VWAP. So far, we're not really able to close above that previous month value high either. Now we're trading back within. So if this is bearish, this should hold. If this is reclaimed, it's going to be bullish, right? So this is going to be the line in the sand. That's why we have a line in the sand. For shorts, for longs, whatever we want to do heading into next week. These lows right here are the draw on liquidity. They are confluent with the monthly developing VWAP. And that is why I think this is going to be a good area to look for potential longs. If we were to further fine tune that, we can take a look at the weekly developing value. Similar to Bitcoin, weekly developing value will close like that, meaning we'll have a new previous week VWAP right at 43.60. Confluent with these equal lows, right? That's where I want to be a buyer. So tomorrow it's going to be, or next week, it's mainly going to be based around weekly values for Bitcoin and Ethereum, mainly because of the lack of other contextual levels nearby. I think if I were to zoom in once more, if this is the value area high and we start trading here and all of a sudden we break above that value area high, I'll be a buyer and I'm going to be targeting the high, right? But if we try to break above the high and we reject, I'll be a seller and I'm going to be targeting VWAP. So 45.20-ish is going to be your line in the sand. Is that clear based on Ethereum? Right? So super simple. We've got the previous quarterly VWAP, previous quarter value high here. That's going to be confluent with, this structural price point there. If we can reclaim that, it's going to be looking good. Ideally, I want to be a buyer down below these lows. That's my main objective here for ETH. Now, one thing that I think is interesting here, if we're taking a look at XPL here, and we go towards VWAP, we don't have a lot of data to work with, but, I saw a lot of people trying to buy this down here, while in fact we have a new previous month value, right? We don't have quarterly value, don't have enough data for that. We've got previous week value to show you the importance, right? This was a bit observed, but we accepted back within previous week value, just straight down towards previous week value low, right? That's where we got that tree drive structure, got some sort of relief, and now we're holding this. Why are we holding this as support? It is because if we're taking a look at the monthly here, we have previous month value area low. So this is the line in the sand, in my opinion. If you're looking to long this, I'd say you do not want to see acceptance below. And by acceptance, I mean multiple H4 candle closes, basically time and space below that 0.85-ish point, because that's genuinely bearish. If we do that, just wait with longs until we can get a clean reclaim. What I think will be super interesting, a big fat sweep into these lows, like everybody gets out, then reclaim the previous month value low on the H12. At that point, I'll be looking for longs back into 1. If we reclaim this, I'll be looking for longs into 1.4. Simple as that. Besides that, I have no interest in trading this. Now, if we take a look at a regular chart, right here we've got, a nice fat ass down close candle before the bigger displacement higher. We got the previous high, right, as the structural level there. We're basically front running this support. Taking a look at the H4. Hourly chart, even better, right? We're now forming some sort of a range where we're bottoming out. What I would like to see is, just give me something like this, right? Like a big fuck you wick into that level. reclaim, structural break. I'll be a buyer there, and I'm going to be targeting the pending highs here. Then we've got a swing point there, one there, and then this is where I want to be targeting next. Fresh supply, previous month VWAP, so that's going to be the trade. On XPL, right? And besides that, got nothing really to do, just chilling here. If we're taking a look at Sol, for example, I honestly believe like Sol definitely going to get some downside here, but I think the 218 mark, like that's something that you want to be keeping a close eye on, because if we're taking a look at VWAP for Sol here, we can see that the actual low occurred at that previous year value high, right? Beautiful. Super clean rotation back towards the highs, filling in this gap here. If we're taking a look at the quarterly, we are now accepting above previous quarterly value high. That is around 218. So even if we were to do this, maybe fill in that, right? But close back above the previous quarterly, I think the low is in, and we're going to go back towards these equal highs, right? That will be a really clean trade. If we were to further fine tune that, whoops, let's take a look at the monthly. Oh, well. This is why we're rejecting, right? Because it's the previous month value high. Resistance, right? We can't close above. Where's the previous month VWAP? 218, right? Another layer of confluence. So if we were to combine everything, I'd say the yearly is looking good, the quarterly is looking good, the monthly heading into resistance, best location to be a buyer, right there, confluent with previous quarter value high, confluent with yearly developing value high as well. So, do we have any structural standpoint pivots there? I think we got one, right? We got this short-term consolidation before we had that break there. We're now back above. I mean, would it be so super bad of a trade? No, I think it will be really clean. Move back into the highs, maybe this high there, and then we'll see, right? So basically ping-ponging between previous month value high and the previous quarterly value high. So definitely keep an eye on that one. Then we've got Apex. I think Apex is consolidating here above previous month value high. If we're taking a look at VWAP here, same story. Let's open up the chart. On the yearly, right, we are rejecting at previous year VWAP, back at previous year value low, back at previous year VWAP, right? On the quarterly, we have accepted above previous quarterly value high. That's bullish. The monthly value high is holding a support right there, right? And then previous week value, look at this. We accepted back within, we trade below. Where do we get capped on the downside? Exactly at that previous week VWAP, right? Bottom is in. You can look for your standard, triggers here. Low, high, sweep low, market structure break, get long here at the order block. Boom, back towards VWAP, back into value high where you start taking profits. But again, the weekly is looking pretty good as well. So if we were to take a look at this chart, I'd say maybe rinse all of these lows into that structure, reclaim it, right, to confirm a low, and then we can target the previous year VWAP again. If we can cleanly break above previous year VWAP, it's game on. Where's the previous year value high? It's around 2.9-ish. 2.9. Let me just fine tune that, by the way. Quarterly, previous year value high, like that. Let's add that to the chart. Previous year value high. But for that, we need to have genuine acceptance above previous year VWAP, right? So ping-ponging between these two values with this as a potential support. If we were to run it back into the highs and reject, can be a good short before move back towards the low. So whichever comes first. What else do we have? We've got ASTER here. Do I want to be looking for this? Let's take a look. Let's take a brief look here. Right. Another super clean rotation here. So try to break. Let me zoom in. Consolidation. Do we have a lot of price action traders with us today? Like we've got a consolidation here. Down close candle. Large displacement upwards, right? We tried to break above previous week value high. Don't have it, right? No support. Break back below that. Bearish breaker. Market structure break. Come back up into it. This is your short. We're targeting previous week VWAP. Super clean trade again, right? So I'm guessing here, if there's going to be a low on this pair, it should be within the upcoming previous week value. So let's say that we start trading lower, do this, then that needs to be the low for more upside. You don't want to see acceptance below, to be honest. Developing month value low there. Let's make a chart here. So first things first, H12. Let's get this back in. H12 block. I'm not gonna be a buyer here. Stop below the low, way too big, right? So we want to be fine tuning that shit. Go towards the H4. We've got this low right there. Right, this is the impulse move higher, broke above this high, so that's good. That's what we want to see. Now I want to have some confluence, so I will go towards an hourly chart, and I'm plotting that previous week value area low right here. Let's get that in. Previous week value area low. All right, and then next week the developing week value low tomorrow. That's gonna be the previous week. Okay, so this has to be holding a support. But, whoops. If you want to be a buyer here at that H12 block, right? You can't just be a buyer here with your stop below low. It's just, you know, in terms of risk to reward, it's total dog shit. So what we're looking for is we're looking to fine tune that level. And I'm using VWAP for that. You can use TPO, you can use whatever the fuck you want, right? But what you essentially look for is a break above a previous high, right? This here as well, right? Low, sweep low. Up close candle. This is where we have that market structure shift. You can long anything here because we're coming off that H12 block, because it's exactly at the previous week value low. We're fine tuning it level towards there, right? This is your entry, stop below the low, and we're targeting pending liquidity there into previous week value area high. Let me just add that. Do I need to add that? Let's just add that for just for a visual representation right here. Previous week value area high. Right there. Right. So super clean trades. Yes, I've got SPX as well. SPX, whatever you want to call that. Let me see, where did I put that? Right here. I've got here PEPE as well. Actually already long from that low here. We cleaned up that gap into the previous month value low. I basically, for this part, I need to see previous VWAP hold as support for higher prices back into, I don't know, maybe this is a bit optimistic, but you get the drift. Let's take a look at this one. All right. Remove. Daily. Reset chart view. Let's go back into the weekly. All right, weekly, this stands out to me. Weekly block. We've got a weekly swing point here. Standing out to me as well, right there. Definitely running up into resistance right now, right? This is a weekly up close candle. The daily. Looking good. Trading above these highs. Do we have anything else basically coming into this? H12 right there, right? I think this is going to be resistance. H4. Now let's get some levels in. First, let's take a look at VWAP to get an overall view here with the bands. So the yearly. Coming off yearly VWAP, that was the actual low. We're now trying to break above developing value area high. That's a good sign. Let's get the older quarterly VWAP away. One. So right here, we are accepting back within previous quarterly value. We're trading above previous quarterly VWAP. This could actually be a really shallow retracement where we only do this and then reclaim it. So that's something that I'm going to be keeping a close eye on before continuation higher into 1.8. That's the destination purely based on quarterly value. Then we have the monthly consolidation above previous month value area high, right? Couldn't close back within. Nice expansion higher. And then we'll have the weekly here as well within a day at 1.4. 1.4-ish. All right. So all in all, bullish, right? Looking good on the structures. Now let's add some lipstick to the chart. Developing year, do we want to have that? No. Previous quarterly VWAP, I do want to have this one on the chart. Whoops. Previous quarter VWAP. Because that's for sure going to be a sticky point. Previous quarterly value low. I don't think we should be going that low. H12. Nah. All right. Monthly. Previous month value high. Previous month VWAP. Okay. So let's add that as well. Previous month value high. All right. And then the weekly. That's around there. Okay. And then let's take a final peek at the rolling VWAPs. Okay. We're trying to reclaim the 90 day. 730 down here. Okay. So for this pair, let's just add this 90 day and previous quarterly VWAP. So for me here, I'm like, okay, do you know what? We've got like a couple of structures here. We've got the previous quarter VWAP. You've got the previous month value high. If this thing is really bullish, I don't actually think that we should be going all the way down here. I would prefer something like this, where we get like a wick into this and then reclaim ASAP. And the reason why that is because it's a previous quarter VWAP alongside the 90-day rolling VWAP, right? So that means if we're taking a look at this, if we fail to hold this as support, this becomes a gigantic resistance, right? And at that point, I think it's bearish and we're probably going to go back towards this structure there. That is why I think, going into next week, we will have new previous week value high around 1.45. That basically needs to be the cap, 1.45. Let's take a look. The weekly, developing week here, confluent with H4, like that. So that will be a trade. In terms of upside, right? If we were to do some sort of a tree drive here, like this is the first one, second one, third one, structural break, that's bearish for potential short back. For potential short back into that 90 day and then the previous month. But all in all, structure is up. We have structural shifts towards the upside on the weekly, daily, and the lower time frames. So considering that we have a 90-day rolling VWAP and a previous quarterly VWAP here, I think we should be doing some sort of a range, maybe a cheeky wick into this fresh level of demand there, reclaim, and then we can start targeting upside. Now, these plays, like we've just covered, right? This one, that one, we've got. There was a super clean trade on FLOKI here as well, right? Same structure again, right? We're coming off a key contextual level here, right? Let's take a look at the weekly. The weekly here. Weekly down close candle. Large displacement towards the upside. Retracement back into an order block there. Or whatever the fuck you want to call them. Daily, right? We have a key swing low there. We start trading below that low into weekly support. I want to be a buyer. If we go back towards the 30-minute time frame, for example, the hourly chart, or the 4-hour chart, I think it was the 4-hour, right? Yeah. So the 4-hour chart, we had this low, then we breached that low, large displacement towards the upside. We had a gap. Where are we trading? We're trading at the previous month value low. That is why I wanted to be a buyer there instead of here, right? No, here. And this is what I need to see. Long, target previous month value high, and then potentially this high there, etc. Right? So this was a super clean trade as well. For continuation, need to see this hold of support here. But again, as I wanted to say, because I'm getting ahead of myself, I'm starting to talk shit here. But Bitcoin will need to hold, right? We will need to see this hold of support. We do not want to see like a super insane break lower, because that would definitely draw altcoins with it. Same story for Ethereum. If Ethereum can give me the sweep of these lows and these altcoins, right, the higher beta ones that are outperforming at that point in time. So let's say that we got SPX here again, right? And we got maybe, which other pairs do we have? I think this one was super strong. And then we had XLP was actually stronger today as well. Interesting dynamic. First time that we're seeing XPL outperform compared to some of these more favorite ones. But if we're trading at demand right here, and then we're starting to reclaim the lows, that's when I'm going to be looking at, okay, which is outperforming? Do we have structures? Are we coming off VWAP? What do we have in terms of nearby resistance? Do we have a drawn liquidity? And so on. You guys know the drill, right? So that's when I'm going to be executing these altcoins. So yeah, is that clear for everybody in terms of what we're going to be expecting next week? For Bitcoin, it's a waiting game. Ethereum as well. So that's for me a wrap on the stream. I do want to go over the chat real quick. Where are you getting the VWAP bands from? It's a script that it's a personal script, but there's, you can use multiple scripts on TradingView. If you look, for example, it's the multi-time frame VWAP. It does a similar job, right? Not as precise, but it does a similar job for you to get the context around the markets. Multi-time frame VWAP, that is. I think that's the one that you need to be looking into. How do you determine the priority of VWAP across different time frames? It is only based on sequence, or do you combine other factors? So there's a couple of more things to it, but as Grant was saying, like, it's a recency bias. I always ask myself during the prep, because right now I'm not doing the prep, but usually I'm having like a Notion template where I cover everything in like, okay, what is the most recent development in terms of VWAP, rolling VWAP, market profile, and so on. And then we're going to be distilling everything that we've just covered in terms of TPO, right, VWAP, and then we're getting like a daily narrative. Where do I want to be looking for trades? What am I targeting? And so on. In terms of VWAP, to answer your question, the yearly is super important. If I were to compare this to a regular candlestick chart, I would say this is the weekly time frame, this is the daily time frame, this is the 4-hour time frame, and this is the hourly time frame or the 30-minute time frame, right? Doesn't really matter. But if we're getting support or resistance at the weekly time frame, I'm not going to be trading or executing on the weekly time frame, right? I'm going to be zooming in, so to say, on the daily, 4-hour, the hourly, and then I'll do my execution. The same goes for VWAP. The reversal will first occur on the weekly. Then it will show you on the monthly. And then it will show you on the quarterly. And then it will show you on the yearly, right? So in terms of time frame, the yearly is the most important one. However, in terms of triggers, the weekly is often going to be the quickest, the one to show you or to tell you, right? Because the weekly here is now trading at developing week value. If the weekly loses this as support, it's the first time frame that tells you, you know what, time to be careful here, right? Whilst the quarterly is still telling you, oh, we're bullish. But we want to be capturing this as well in case we get it. So it's a combination of all time frames to really distill that narrative that you want to be looking for. For how long are TPO weekly and monthly and daily composites usually valid for you? Great question. So in this scenario, we've got a weekly composite from this previous all-time high day, right? That's the composite that we're currently seeing down here. Let me just reset this chart. Let's go back all the way. All right. That is this composite. When am I cutting this composite off? I'm gonna cut this composite when we're forming new value down here. So let's say that the market, is gonna be all of these guys that are buying into this level. Same story here, right? Insane amount of buying. Let's say that this is gonna be the cap and upside, and we start to trade lower. And eventually, Bitcoin starts to form a new range here, right? 1 day, 2 day, right? Maybe 3 day. At that point, I think we can all agree we've got a new 3-day composite. That 3-day composite is then in overlap with the older one. At that point, I'm cutting this off and I'm going with the new one, the most recent structure, right? Because then if the most recent structure suggests that we're breaking below, I don't really want to be a buyer here because this 3-day then is way more important, than the older 3-day. And I want to be a seller for continuation lower, right? And the same goes for the monthly and the weekly and stuff like that. So whenever there's new value being built within a older value, that's when the recency shifts towards the recent profiles, and that's when I'm putting more emphasis on those. Awesome, great stuff. You're very welcome, Steamo. Glad you like it, bro. Do you agree that even if Bitcoin pulls back 5% and comes back to 118, else will bleed hard? I don't know. I actually think I thought it was really interesting to see where on the slightest amount of sign of strength on Bitcoin, we actually saw like a large amount of these altcoins rip. For example, look at this. Look, huge rip upwards. Like there's definitely risk appetite in altcoins. You just need to know which altcoins you need to focus on. But there's enough risk appetite. You just don't want to be holding the bag. For example, this one is definitely underperforming compared to the rest, right? That is why I've got these, because whenever Bitcoin takes a shit, I'll just take a look. Okay, which one is holding up and which one isn't? And the one that's holding up the strongest this week, it was SPX, right? This one was outperforming like mentally. Like, it was insane performance there, right? And that's the one that you want to be bidding. I'm not going to be bidding a bag of bones, right? I need to be having that new flashy, shiny thing that does well. So don't really care about the tickers. I care about this, that side of that thing. So when as a Mac user can we jump an extra chart? So I'm hoping pretty soon. I had a fantastic meeting with Varen and the guys at Extra Charts at the beginning of this weekend with some other minor improvements in terms of the TPO flow chart that they're working on. And once that's live, like, it's up to them, but I think it's pretty soon. And you guys are gonna be amazed with it. It's gonna be really good. I don't know if they support it actually. If they do, then it's gonna be in line with Windows and Mac. So this week's point of control, based on TPO, if I go towards settings, look, studies, TPO, settings, I can show you. Let me show you. I've got it. It's somewhere here. Point of control. The point of control, highlight based on volume. Yes. So my point of control is not based on time. So the value area high and the low are based on time. But my point of control is based on volume, right? Look at the amount of volume here. And that is why the point of control is above the value area. I think if you're utilizing TPO, the best combination that works for me is a time-based value area and a volume-based point of control. You said we will need at least 2 days of overlapping value to build a composite. Does it also apply to weekly? Yes. We need to have at least 1 week of value overlap if you want to merge weekly profiles. We need to have at least 1 month of value overlap if you want to merge monthly profiles. Great question though. And I think that was it. Any other questions? Further questions? Questions regarding this? Questions regarding the stream? BTC, ETH. Show the website. If you guys enjoy the channel, if you guys enjoy what I'm doing, you can visit this website here, primetrading.ai. It's a group that I'm running with VWAP, daily live streams. You'll see me doing these preps every day. This is basically the prep that I was going over, right? The preps, intraday updates, videos every day, comprehensive learning hub where I do where it's a course based on market profile, order flow, all of the indicators, and you get the goodies, right? The cost is basically non-existent. On a monthly basis, 125, quarterly is 250. That's like what, $80 a month. I think that's, should be doable. And we do these streams daily on the Discord. So if you're up for that, if you want to have that, feel free to visit the website. And if you've enjoyed the stream, certainly leave me a like and maybe a comment below. And I will catch you guys on the next stream, okay? And for the guys in Discord, I will see you guys tomorrow, same time. Take care.